Scroll number 6. I speak from my own ground. How much longer are you going to serve under others' orders? Seneca asks this directly without softening it in one of the most pointed letters he ever wrote to Lucilius. He is not speaking about employment or social rank. He is speaking about the mind, about the person who spends years studying wisdom, accumulating the sayings of great thinkers, filling notebooks with other people's insights, and never once generates a thought that is genuinely, distinctly their own. That person, Seneca says, is a spiritless lot, not because learning is wrong, but because learning that never becomes originality is simply a more respectable form of hiding. He makes the point even more sharply. Assume authority yourself and utter something that may be handed down to posterity. Not one day when you are ready. Not after more study, more preparation, more qualification. No, with what you have, from where you stand. The wisdom that lives in books becomes real only when it passes through a life and comes out changed, tested, verified, made personal. Until then it is just memory. And memory alone is not the same as a mind. I speak from my own ground. Seneca draws a sharp distinction between remembering and knowing. To remember is to safeguard something entrusted to your memory. To know is to make each item your own, not to be dependent on some original, not to be constantly looking to see what the master said. The person who can only quote is still a student. The person who has genuinely understood something can express it in their own words, from their own experience, in a way that no one else could have produced. That is the standard Seneca sets. Not fluency in other people's thinking. Originality. The courage to utter something from your own life, in your own voice. I speak from my own ground. This is the challenge of the creator who works with ideas. It is easy to be a curator, to find the best of what others have said and arrange it beautifully for an audience. There is real value in that. But curation is not the same as creation. At some point the question becomes, what do you actually think? What have you learned not from books but from your own failures, your own reversals, your own sustained effort in the dark? What has your specific life taught you that no book could have taught you? I speak from my own ground. Seneca is blunt. It is disgraceful that a man who is old or in sight of old age should have a wisdom deriving solely from his notebook. He is not dismissing scholarship. He studied deeply, read widely, quoted freely from Epicurus and Virgil and Cleanthes, but always in service of a thought that was his own, always digested and transformed by his own experience before it arrived on the page. The passage he reads in the morning becomes the reflection he writes in the afternoon, not reproduced, metabolized, turned into something that could only have come from him. I speak from my own ground. I am building something here that is genuinely mine, not a collection of other people's insights, however well arranged, not a performance of wisdom that I have not yet earned. What I offer is the record of a person actually living these ideas, testing them against real days, real setbacks, real uncertainty, and reporting back from that experience with honesty. That honesty is what no one else can produce. That specificity is what makes this work worth doing. The ideas may be ancient. The voice is mine, and the voice matters, not because it is more eloquent than others, but because it is the only voice that could have produced this particular combination, this exact arrangement of ancient ideas and personal experience and chosen commitments. Every person who sits with Seneca and then speaks from their own life produces something the world has never heard before. That is not vanity. That is the point. That is why Seneca wrote, "Produce something from your own resources, not to replace the great thinkers, to join them as a practitioner, not a student." I speak from my own ground. Seneca also teaches self-examination with unusual precision. He says, "Play the part first of prosecutor, then of judge, and finally of pleader and mitigation. Be harsh with yourself at times. Conduct inquiries of your own into all the evidence against yourself." This is not self-punishment. It is the rigorous practice of a person committed to knowing, not just believing, that they are living with integrity. Most people avoid this examination because the results are uncomfortable. The gap between who we say we are and who we actually are in the unobserved moments, that gap requires courage to look at directly. The examination is also the source. When I look honestly at what I have learned from my own life, not from books, not from other people's accounts, but from the specific experience of being this person, in these circumstances, making these choices, I find material that is completely mine, irreplaceable. It is the inventory of a life actually lived. And from that inventory, and only from that inventory, comes the voice that can speak to someone else who is also actually living. I look directly. I conduct the examination. And from what I find there, the honest record of what I know, what I have tested, what my own life has taught me, I speak. What I have found in the examination is this: the ideas I have lived are the only ones I can speak with full authority. Everything else is quotation. I speak from my own ground. Produce something from your own resources. This is Seneca's instruction, and I take it as mine, not because I have finished learning. I will never finish learning, but because learning and creating are not sequential, they are simultaneous. I create from what I know now, and as I create, I learn more deeply than I could by studying alone. The act of expressing an idea honestly, in my own language, from my own experience, is itself a form of knowing. The thought that was abstract becomes real the moment I commit to it in words that are mine. This is what the scrolls are. Not a performance of Stoic philosophy for an audience. A record of genuine practice. A person sitting with ancient ideas at 6 in the morning and asking, "Does this hold? Have I tested this? Do I actually believe it, or do I only believe that I believe it?" The difference matters. Seneca knew it matters. A wisdom deriving solely from the notebook is no wisdom. It is decoration. The real thing is earned through living and expressed through the courage to say from your own ground what you have found to be true. Every scroll I write is an act of standing on my own ground. Every word that is genuinely mine, not borrowed, not performed, not arranged for approval, is a contribution that no one else could make. Because no one else has stood where I have stood, seen what I have seen, survived what I have survived. No one can stand here and say what I can say from here. That is not pride. That is the nature of original ground. I speak from my own ground. I speak from my own ground. I speak from my own ground.